Welcome, everyone. My name is Luis Antonio Pichardo, founder and executive director of DSTL Arts. DSTL Arts, the nonprofit arts mentorship organization that inspires, teaches, and hires emerging artists from underserved communities. Obviously, this is another episode of our Art Block podcast. Over here getting tongue-tied already. And as usual, I am joined by my lovely co-host, Abraham Jaramillo. Say what's up, Abraham.
Sup.
And today we're doing first of its kind for us, a crossover episode. This is one of the crossovers that we will be doing. This is, kind of like a almost like a little alumni check-in, but also meeting some new people. And it's I'm hoping a fun episode. Tonight we're joined by Ghost Spaghetti, which is a podcast hosted by Jason and Red. Jason is an aficionado of literature and art. Red is a DSTL Arts alum, formerly from our Conchas y Cafe workshops, with an insatiable appetite for books and narratives of all kinds. However, it's the eerie allure of ghost stories, real and imagined, that truly captivates their imagination. Powered by their mutual penchant for the macabre and the spaghetti, Jason and Red are always eager to embark on journeys through the realms of the paranormal. So thank you for joining us, Jason and Red. It's a pleasure to
Thank you
have you
for
on.
having us.
Yeah, glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure having other podcasters here.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially Distill
Alum.
family. Distill
Yeah.
Thank you for putting me on this journey, folks. I guess
Yeah.
to say.
It's our fault.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm unleashing my voice on everyone, and it's all your fault. So,
hey, sometimes you have to summon the demons you want to summon, right?
Right, exactly.
And talking about that, like I wanted to ask, how and when did this paranormal pasta and the expectable sauce combine to create this spooky podcast called Coast Spaghetti? When and how did this happen?
okay, Jason, you want me to take this one, or you want to go for it?
I'll go for it. You go ahead.
Okay, all right. Here I go. Hamburguesa here. So what happened was that's me. Jason and I met through a mutual friend, and quickly after I meet anybody, it turns to, hey, do you believe in ghosts? You know any ghost stories? And unbeknownst to me, Jason was exactly the same way. So right off, we're on the same page. Know any ghosts? Know any ghost stories? What's haunted? What's not haunted? And we're trading ghost tidbits, ghost stories back and forth like they're little pieces of zines, or little like Pokemon cards or what have you, this,
Right.
that, the other. And finally we're like, okay, maybe we need to just go for this. And I would definitely say I was emboldened by being a DSTL Arts alum. Before joining DSTL Arts, I liked my books, I liked my things that I liked, but I kind of kept it in the brain, kept it in the noodle, kept it to myself. Definitely was not a big talker, kind of minding my own beeswax. And now look at me, you can't stop me from taking over and yakety yakking. And that's really part of the patience and like this, I guess, the patience for art that I learned through DSTL Arts. Like sit, think about it, put it together, and then don't be afraid to let it out, because it's not helping anybody sitting in the noodle. So ready or not, out it comes. And that's kind of what got Jason and I started on this fun creative journey.
Wow.
And how did this name came to be the Ghost Spaghetti?
Well, so your guys' podcast has a great name, DSTL Arts, well, actually it was Art Block, correct?
Yeah, Art Block.
Yeah, and I know that's from a DSTL Arts program. Awesome. So if you try to name a ghost podcast, you're gonna have a lot of Googling to do. All the great names are taken. We went through so many, like, oh man, this is the best name. Google it, already taken. And unfortunately, sometimes it was taken by a podcast that had already come and gone, but we still didn't want to tread anywhere. So finally we just, I don't know, it just came together. And I for a while I was sending Jason like lists of names, and then when I sent this one, I'm like, I think we're on to something. And so far it's stuck, and so far we're just having I'm just having a ball with the name. I'll say that, a meatball, if you will.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I was actually picturing in my mind like a logo, and I just immediately came up with the idea of your average ghost, the one in the sheet, but
Mhm.
instead it's a little spaghetti. You just see all the little spaghetti lines. So in my mind,
Oh,
I was
good one.
already conjuring, the the imagery for your podcast.
I think that's your stomach, Luis.
Yeah, can't take
I
the fat
think
boy out of
the names for podcasts or any companies should be fought in a thunderball kind of situation, and whoever comes on top wins the name. I mean, that's the way it
Ah,
should be.
that's true. Okay. All right, Jason, next podcast, put up your dukes.
That's right.
So, so Jason, what was the story that actually introduced you to Red? What was the one that made that connection, if you
Well,
remember?
yeah, she's pretty spot on. We just when we first met, it was all about, oh, so you like Bigfoot, or do you like, what do you think about chupacabra?
Uh-huh.
So that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. So that really just kind of it snowballed from there. And then Red is an avid reader. She likes to read a lot, and I do too. And I right now I'm trying to read every major short ghost story or horror story.
Uh-huh.
So that's another connection we made where I could turn her to all these scary classic stories, and
Uh, that I otherwise would have no intention
no,
or way of knowing existed. Yes,
right,
learned a lot.
Ooh.
And so,
yeah,
talking about chupacabras and all that you just said, I had these weird questions like I always do, right, Luis?
Mhm.
So, what monster of this list I'm gonna give you would you like to be if you had a choice? I mean, it's not like I don't want to be any, but like, let's see. I have vampire, shapeshifter, and it's for you, Luis, as well. Then kaiju or demon. Which one would you go for, and why?
That the whole list?
I mean, that's the point. Otherwise, I'm not gonna give you
I
the ice cream that
guess.
you
All
want.
right, all right. All right, one more time.
We have vampire, shapeshifter, kaiju, and demon.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go vampire.
Ooh, I
Sure,
see
Mm.
somebody
yeah,
somebody thirsty.
yeah, yeah.
But what kind of vampire? Or
No,
is that for
yeah, I
us?
mean, oh, somebody.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
Exactly.
we
question.
like Interview with the Vampire, Twilight
Oh, like
Vampire.
sexy vampire or like
Yeah.
daylight vampire?
Do
Sparkly.
you want a
Mm.
sparkle? That's what she's
Yeah,
saying.
sparkly vampire. That's a good question.
And move to
Yeah.
Washington, or do you move to New Orleans? I guess you're a vampire. You could like do a little bit in one arena, like, oh, I'm going to spend a few decades being this kind of vampire. Now I'm this kind of vampire. And now I'm a wisecracking vampire, like the guy from the Munsters, Grandpa Al Lewis,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, try them all out.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Why
got
not?
all eternity.
You got the time.
Yeah,
Ready
So
you
for
got the
it.
Jason,
time.
what would you what was the reason you would choose vampire? What makes it appealing to you?
Well, like if I had to choose any of them, I would be a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot because they can hang out in the forest with their peoples and eat food and bother people, and then nobody knows what I look like, and I can hide,
But
and
Lyme
So I
disease.
guess you can be a
Lyme
shapeshifter
disease.
if that happens to
Yeah,
you.
I
I
guess
mean, yeah,
yeah,
right.
that is true. I could always and then I could just turn into a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
There
that
you go.
yeah,
There you
but
go.
for
You can have them
vamp,
all if you think about it. Huh.
that's true. Yeah, actually, you're right. I probably should change
The
it.
only thing about shapeshifter, I don't think it will be immortal. I think that's
Oh,
the
do they?
capacity of vampires that I think it's appealing, the
Right.
immortality of it, right? Except for
This,
if you want to party during the day, then you're screwed.
that
Mhm.
is true.
No
Yeah.
summer vacations for you, no going to the beach, you know.
Right.
That's a
Yeah.
point.
Trade off.
And
Yeah.
you, Red, what would you choose?
Oh boy, I really like the vampire option because of all the time.
Hmm.
But I feel like even if I was a vampire, that'd be a bigger excuse to procrastinate on everything. So there's that.
Eternity.
Yeah.
I'll do it later. In 100 years, it's still there.
Yep.
My dishes. I like that, but I also, I am afraid of the future. What's going to happen? What will I be ill prepared for? If you're a vampire going through COVID, how are you supposed to go out and? Oh, I guess you could always go buy toilet paper and stuff at night. That's an
That's true.
option. But
I mean, 24/7
Delivery
stores.
yeah,
guys.
delivery. There you go. I think that's another reason why I'm kind of drawn to ghost stories. They all take place in the past,
Hmm.
so I
You're
like
more
to
of a
live
historic
there.
person.
Definitely, absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So I guess I'll stick with vampire, but just like it's been on my time reading about the past and documenting the present. Yes.
Yeah, I think the same thing, the interview with the vampire, where they have this scene that he's talking to the other vampires, like he's trying to say, like, what do you want me to be with you? And because the other guy was kind of the link of becoming this new future thing, because that was the power of the
Mm,
guy, right? Like he can continue living without feeling it like expired, in a sense of I don't feel that I'm from this time, which is it's a hard thing to cope with the modernity, especially nowadays. I think the
mm.
technology moves so fast. How do you keep up with that, right? Especially if you're a procrastinator, right, Red?
Exactly. You saw how long it took me to get on a Zoom meeting. Like I've never done it before. Had to update my password. An eternity of doing that?
Yep.
Jeez
Oh, that's a spooky
Louise.
story.
Yes. Story waiting to happen. Mm.
And so, Luis, what is your show? What do you choose?
You know, that was a good list. The one thing that I immediately kind of gravitated towards was also vampire, but then I was like, "Ooh, kaiju sounds kind of cool."
I knew it. You're a Godzilla fan, man.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, you got the little Godzilla. Where is he? He's right up there. I don't think you can see him. Um, but I do have. There he is, little Godzilla. Just hanging out
There
on.
Oh,
you
Nice.
go.
Um, but I think, the appeal of the kaiju really actually to me it's more the giant robot. I've always been a huge Transformers fan.
I know. You
mm.
will
Um,
have to fight in your idols.
yeah. But the problem with being a kaiju, I imagine, would be always having to, like pick little things out of your feet because you're constantly stepping on people and
The
Oh,
Legos.
Yeah.
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 so,
I feel like they're always hungry. They need to eat. Like they're always looking for food. Always.
yeah.
It's a constant struggle to
I
feed.
think, Luis, you're a kaiju already.
I mean, kind of.
I think
Yeah.
the downfall of the kaiju will be going to the restaurant. So I'll be like,
Mm.
poor city. So I don't
That's
know.
not my problem though. That's their
And
problem.
the privacy, right? How do you sleep like without everybody looking at you, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
you're true. Uh, but you brought up an interesting kind of like idea though, Red, about how the majority of ghost stories and or even horror tend to happen in the past. It's
Mm.
very few that you would see that are written in like the contemporary time period. Maybe with the exception of things like Twilight and that kind of thing. But um, why do you think that ghost stories and horror stories are generally considered a thing of the past, whereas like aliens and science fiction is almost always set in the future? What do you think is the true difference between those genres?
Hmm. That's that's a distal arts question. Too bad I don't have a nice concha y cafe in a half an hour to write it out. But let me see. Well, the ghost story, you're walking into it and you know that the subject has already come and gone from this world, and yeah, you're walking in and like they're already a memory.
Mhm.
And then with aliens in the future, I guess those are just they're as far as we know, quote unquote, winkety wink, they are not happening now. So we can only project what might happen in the future. But I really like both. That might be a future spin-off. Let me see, Alien Antipasta or something, because that's another fun subject. Yeah.
Like that.
Can I say something to that question? Is since I've been reading all these ghost stories, my favorites are the old ones, the classic ones, which are like haunted houses and
Mhm.
ghosts of like old England and those type of things. But the modern ones that I've been getting into recently are more about ghosts that are like reflecting acute psychological terrors. So it's more like
Mm.
anxiety, worry, depression, grief.
Mhm.
Where before it would be like, what's that noise upstairs? And now it's like, well, that ghost represents war
Mhm.
and the fear
Mm.
of, so those are a little harder to read for me because it's a different kind of scary.
Mhm.
So it's a different kind of, different kind of haunting, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
I agree. Yeah, like having been exposed to more of the older stuff through Jason and, preparing for our show, they're all very like I don't want to say traditional, or maybe people kind of imbibe them a little differently back then, but very much like, heard a noise. I thought you were there and now you're here, scary
Mhm.
things that would kind of put a chill up my spine. And now they're a lot more cerebral and a lot more about people being introspective. And sometimes you don't even know if the ghost is really there or not.
Mhm.
Actually, I think that's more of a modern hook is was it really a ghost or is it all
Yeah.
this person's,
They're just depressed.
understanding of this? Or, yeah.
Mhm.
Or is there some sort of, underlying thing that's occurring that is not otherworldly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Yeah,
all of them are fun. So.
Mhm.
yeah. I think nowadays, I think I have seen a trend. Like before, it was the mystery of like it's magical, something that happened. It's magical. Now, in every movie or story, you see more of a scientific explanation for some of those things, right? They're trying to prepare you in that regard because since they see the culture of us being more scientific, I think they tend us to set us up with some of that science a little bit here and there to explain, right? The
Mhm.
unexplainable in that case. And talking about like haunting houses, I know like you guys like scary tours and things like that. My question to you is what scary tour would you like to operate or show for people? Like if you were gonna set up a tour, do you guys have something in mind that would you would like to do as a tour?
So many. Let's see. I really enjoy Los Angeles history. So if I were to create a tour, and I'm sure there's already a bunch of them, but they don't have my red hair and my vivacious personality. So
That's right.
definitely something related to downtown Los Angeles. There was actually one really great tour, and I know that wasn't the question, but I actually went on one really great tour many years ago, and I have not seen it return. Um, it was like the Haunted Red Line tour, and that was a lot of fun. And that was someone who was very passionate about Los Angeles ghosts, and the whole tour took place along the Red Line. And I believe it was a nominal fee or maybe free, and it was all for the love of the story. So definitely something like that, something where I would just the draw would be me sharing stories. I don't need like a giant audience. I want someone to talk to about ghosts. And then one thing I do like about ghost stories is it starts off a lot of times with, the person on leading the tour sharing, their research and, very great anecdotes. But then a lot of times people are on the tour because they have their own that they want to share. So now we're all just sharing in this collective like discussion about what may or may not float amongst us. But back to the question, definitely something downtown Los Angeles based, or or maybe something a little more interesting, like maybe the site of something kind of innocuous or day to day, like maybe a department store. Well, not a department store, but like yeah, I guess a department store. And maybe it's the site of something interesting that happened, and amongst the departments and like the kitchenware, I get to illustrate a story of what happened, decades earlier.
Hmm.
Okay.
The
Sounds cool.
And
scary
you, good
stories
sir?
of yeah, Jason.
Jason.
Yeah.
Say
Oh,
what's
for me.
up.
I think maybe somewhere like Dodger Stadium. 'Cause I
Ooh.
feel like with that many people, something's got to happen. Or, it's something like a big stadium or arena. There's got to be energy there and ghost
Mhm.
stuff. There has to be. I'm not sure if like,
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just saying because Dodger Stadium have a story that one of my old people that I knew from volunteering at this museum.
Hmm.
She used to know people before the Dodger Stadium, the community that it was kicked out to
Oh
make the
yes.
Dodger Stadium. So from that community, she knew somebody, and that person missed his community, right? And passed away.
Mm.
And they decided to take his ashes and actually during the night just sneak in and dumping in the Dodger Stadium
Oh
as a
wow.
kind of way to bring him back. So there you go. There's stuff
Oh,
there.
that's
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that recently about Disneyland, that people do that a lot.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah.
Yes.
And then somehow, like, somebody was telling me that somebody's girlfriend, I forgot, they dumped it in somewhere where they thought there wouldn't be any cameras, and they walked away, and immediately they were on them. Immediately, like they saw them, they kicked them out.
Oh,
Did you
that's
say it's
oh,
Magic Potter? Like very
Yes.
I heard
Yeah.
that this
Very
was this,
nice.
in concerts, there's people who throw stuff like underwear, flowers, teddy bears, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they were talking about this girl who is a singer, and she's like telling us like there's a lot of weird stuff that being thrown, but there was one occasion that took out the price. Like somebody threw her a bag and just like right, and it was a
Oh my
bag of
gosh.
dust. And like if it was drugs, it would be a party time, but it wasn't. It was the ashes of somebody's mom. Like
Oh
wow.
no.
So I guess
Oh,
that person loved that singer a lot, and then they decided to,
all over his face.
yeah. But I mean, I understand the sentimentality of it, but as a singer, I'm like, oof,
Yeah.
that might be too much.
Yeah. That's that's intense.
Yeah.
yeah, that does sound a little much. But I like that idea of doing something that is kind of community based, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are, either Jason or Red, about the purpose of ghost stories. They've obviously have existed since the beginning of time. Maybe in the Gothic sense since the 1800s, but what do you, in your own humble opinions, as our experts on the topic, what do you think is the purpose of ghost stories?
I think
Go
it's a way to
go for Red.
cling on to the idea that something happens after
Mhm.
we pass on, that you it's not just, a void, that we're still here, that we're still able to connect with people we, either have a positive relationship or maybe a negative one.
Mhm.
That's kind of what I like about ghost stories. I like the idea of it kind of giving a little explanation of maybe what happens afterwards.
Mhm.
Um, but I know that's it's a pretty common thing that people enjoy about ghost stories, and that doesn't take anything away from it because I enjoy them for that reason too.
Mhm. And Jason?
That's pretty good. I just heard recently that said that ghost stories are usually, well, for the most parts, the reason why they're ghosts is to teach morals. So,
Mm.
in other words, like, why is that ghost still haunting that place? Well, it's because they're lovers, that she cheated on him and he killed her, and they're still there forever.
You're talking
So
about one of our recent
I
ones,
am.
but
We are.
yes.
Yes. Yeah. So like, why? So it's kind of teaching. It's kind of passing down the story of don't get with somebody like that. You don't
Mhm.
want to be haunting here
Mm.
forever. You want to rest when you're gone. That type of thing. And it's the ultimate morality tale. So maybe that could make sense too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think one of the things that we talk about, especially in our classes, is how do humanity learn? Like if I tell Luis, don't do this, like it's just me saying something, right? But I think once you tell a story, it gets more embedded in our memories and also captures our attention, and we start to see it differently. And how we learn things is better through stories. And talking about that, like there's a lot of like troubadours, like all different cultures have different type of storytellers, right? So my question to you guys is, when do you guys found that you had that power of storytelling? When did you discover this power of storytelling?
uh, so, here I go again.
go,
Um,
go, go,
here I
go.
go. So I think we had a great discussion about this not that long ago, and we were both the ghost kid, I guess. very early on, I got my hands on a copy of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Probably one of the greatest books I read as a child. And you read the stories, you see the artwork, and you're like, it blows you away. And all you want to do is share it. That's the next thing is you want to turn to your friend and say, check this out, this story, this picture. And if you're kind of a yakety yak, you got like maybe a couple neighborhood kids on a dark summer night or a dark spring night, I guess, because probably got the book from the school library. You could gather some around on your yard and do your best scary voice and try to do your own little jump scare, and it's a great time. And definitely spending time with that book, relaying the stories to my little childhood pals, great memory. And also when I started to kind of enjoy storytelling. And sometimes, when you go through your teen phase or you grow up a little, you kind of lose that. Like, oh, don't look at me. I don't want to say anything. I definitely had a lot of that. Um, but then, you do something cool, like take a DSTL Arts class, and you kind of get back into it. Like, hey, I'm having a good time sharing stories here. So yeah, anyway, that's how I feel about
Yeah,
that.
I've been witness of that, Red. Like when we go out and we're just talking about like especially architecture, LA architecture,
Hmm.
and she goes into the stories. So I know she loves that, especially historic stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, Red. And Jason, when was that time?
Similar as when I was a kid, same, just telling ghost stories. And it started with jokes, I was the joke kid. So I was trying to tell everybody.
Corny jokes, the
And then
puns.
a
Okay.
bunch of corny jokes. And then they got into the dirty jokes.
Ooh.
And then from there went to the ghost stories. And, it develops from there. And, you know, Red is a great storyteller, by the way. So it I feel like we're both strong writers. So, and we gravitate towards scary stuff. So that's a good intermingling of storytelling and the spooky. So it kind of that's where we are at now, from kids to this.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think storytelling it has this thing of grabbing people's attention and creating this environment and everybody's listening. But scary stories have an extra thing, which I think is the tension that everybody is waiting to see what's going on. But like, grabbing to the edge of the seat sometimes, like, oh, hold on. Is he kidding? Is this real?
Right.
And then boom comes the thing, right?
Yeah, that's a classic storytelling techniques. The building of tension and the sort of creation of conflict and resolution to just sort of give the audience a peace of mind. But I kind of want to go back actually to something that you had said earlier, Jason, about having an affinity for Sasquatch, and I'm wondering, the way that you described Sasquatch and that like ability to blend into the environment, and sort of stay away from people. Uh, how much of that do you think is, or the appeal of Sasquatch? How much of that do you think is kind of related to the concepts behind cryptozoology and the hidden monster? Uh, is that like part of the human psyche? Is that just your own kind of way of thinking about Sasquatch? What are your thoughts when it comes to that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think with cryptozoology, it's hard for me to like. I like Sasquatch as like a mascot, but it's hard for me to truthfully follow it, or I guess more take it seriously. Which is the wrong thing to say, because there's never proof. There's millions of stories. Everyone's seen it,
Mhm.
but there's never really proof. And I guess the same thing with ghosts, where it's kind of like everybody has this universal experience, but there's never the videos are always shaky. It's always blurry. The pictures never turn out. So that's why Sasquatch is kind of the same. And I wonder if there is that universal like distance that's like a human shared experience where something's wrong here. You can't put your finger on it, and you don't have the proof just yet. But and if I turn to somebody else and I say, do you feel that same way? I go, yeah, I feel it too. but we can't describe what it is, and that kind of like, ethereal feeling is, I think, is what makes ghost story these, stay around for so long. So yeah, yeah, I think there's definitely a human element to the creepiness, whatever that feeling is, and it feels good.
Mm,
So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
yeah,
this
we chase it every time we record.
We do. We do. Yeah.
yeah, it's funny because I think about it sometimes, and I every night when I go to bed, I turn on YouTube actually for a little bit, and I'm watching like um one of my favorite YouTube channels is Nuke's Top 5 because
Oh yeah.
all he does is show videos of people's paranormal experiences, and
Yeah.
in particular, I like his technique of doing the research and verifying the videos and all, um, but I kind of laugh at myself. I'll be there at 2 o'clock in the morning in the middle of the night watching scary videos, and
Mm,
the things that always creep me out are like the shadow figures and
Oh yeah.
the occasional, I don't know what it is about the Japanese ghost hunters that they sometimes actually capture like looks like physical people that all of a sudden disappear. I mean, those things
Yeah.
freak me out. And it is kind of like, what is it about the psyche of us, of humans, that we're looking for that? And I don't know. I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on those things.
Yeah, I agree. I was
mm.
telling Sarah, it's like I want to see a ghost, but I don't want to see a ghost. I don't really want to.
Yeah.
It's fun to kind of look from, but it's like, okay, it gets too real and it's time to go. But yeah. And those
Mm.
Japanese guys, man, they're really good, aren't they? They're like the
Hmm.
way they set it up and then they turn the corner, they're really good. Yeah, I love the Japanese ghost hunters.
Yeah, for sure. What are your thoughts on this whole psyche of the fear thing?
Red.
What do I think about it? Let's see. I enjoy that feeling, the spooky feeling very much. I will embrace it all the time. I'm an easy scare, and I don't know how much of it is because I'm a big chicken. That's why I have this avatar photo. I don't want everyone to know I'm actually a giant chicken. Or if I predispose myself or if I'm naturally predisposed, I don't know. There's been times when I've listened to a scary book or, something interesting on my phone while I'm doing dishes in broad daylight, other folks in the house, and I'm just there. Don't even want to turn around in the broad daylight of my own home. Do not want to do that. I know there are times when I have a couple of options in the evening, in the late evening. I could either you know, maybe watch a sitcom or something and go to sleep, or I could turn off all the lights and then look outside and say, I wonder if there's someone in the backyard, or I wonder if there's a ghost, or this or that. Like I definitely am inclined to mystery.
Mm.
I would like to meet a ghost, but definitely not. But hopefully on vacation, not in a situation where it's like
A
something I'm gonna,
coworker.
not when I'm gonna like interact with it a lot. Yeah. But I don't know. Again, I think it's just, and sometimes it's just like the hope. I know a lot of times if someone passes that's close to me, I really wish that there was a way to connect with them and kind of believing in ghosts or thinking maybe there's some way that they can, like maybe there is a way that they can connect with me. I enjoy that, brings me comfort. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'm not
people is
sure if that answers the whole thing, but
No, yeah. I mean,
like,
it's just kind of like uh, I don't know, just kind of an observation that I had, at least in myself, that I enjoy the process of being scared and, the buildup, right? The tension of
hmm
saying. Um, but I'm definitely with you. Like, it'd be a little too real to see a ghost in person. Um, but like I've had other experiences where I've seen like objects in the sky that I'm like, what in the world was that? Um, you know,
especially nowadays, right? They're always shooting like who knows what. And yeah, sorry, continue.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, as an example, I was in Mexico last year visiting my grandpa, and he lives way out in the middle of nowhere in Querétaro, in the state of Querétaro. And on his ranch, I was able to get phone service, but outside. And I was calling home to just see how my girlfriend was doing, and how our dogs are doing. And I was on the phone, and this was like maybe around 9 o'clock at night. And I look up at the sky, and all of a sudden I see just this darkness, like just the pure darkness, and it's moving over my head, no lights, nothing. And once it reaches a certain level in the sky, like a certain point above me, it just disappeared. And I swear, like I could distinguish the difference between that pitch darkness and the night sky. And it freaked me out. And I was on the phone this whole time talking to my girlfriend, explaining to her what I'm seeing. And after that, I was like, I can't be out here anymore. Like I'm a little too scared now. I'm going
Yeah.
back inside. Um, so there's like those things where I'm like, shit, I like watching the videos, and yeah, all props to the Japanese ghost hunters, but yeah, I don't know. Um, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little different when it's in real life. I had one situation where, again, I'm drawn to these things. I enjoy a scare. I'll listen to horror audiobooks while I'm washing my dishes and have a good time. But there was a situation where, I was minding out my own beeswax. I heard a giant clatter and I freaked. Like, what? Like, this is not me just goofing around. Like, that was real. And I really freaked. And then come to find out, something just fell off of the wall, like a attack. Like, okay, crisis averted. Yeah. So, but in that moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, I do believe in spooks. I do. I do. Just like that. Was it the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, I think
Little
this
thing.
whole
Yeah.
thing is kind of human nature, how we tend to seek these feelings and also know that other people have felt the same way. So I think who hasn't heard something in the middle of the night when nobody's at home, just you, right? Like it's always something creeping someone up there. And I think that's the reason people like roller coasters, right? Is this sensation of
Yep.
the thrill, but also the knowing that you survive, that you're gonna be okay afterwards.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think that's why people don't like to. Okay, I like to hear the stories of a ghost, but I don't want any roommate. Right? As like it's always that kind of like I like the scare, but not to die during the process kind of situation, right?
Yeah.
And talking about this, Luis, I wanted to know what story would you like if you have that power, right? I don't know. Ghost spaghetti to summon in an episode for them to talk
Ooh,
about. Mm.
I'm
What's the
listening.
story that you feel like you wish they could do? And I'll tell you mine's later after you.
That's a tough question, man. Do you mind? Maybe you should rephrase that because I don't even know what.
Oh well, what I'm saying is, what's a story that you would like to hear them talk about during the show that you either know or do you want to know more about?
Or a book, maybe a cool, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
I
Well, I'll
guess.
give you time. I'll tell you mine's, and then while Luis process this one, I'll tell you mine. So I have heard this story many times. Like you know me, Red. I like a lot of podcasts, and I have
Mm-hmm.
listened to stories, different ways of telling them because each podcast has its own research and some a different way of telling stories. So this one is about Elizabeth Báthory, which was born a Hungarian nobility, and she was kind of a female who supposedly killed 650 people, and she's supposed to like blood and bathing on blood, and
Hmm.
that will make her younger, right? And
Ooh.
I have heard that story before. I'm like, ooh, that lady, I never heard of that one before. But then after this cool show that I like, it's called Leyendas Legendarias, it's in Spanish. It's a Spanish show. And they talk about the whole story, everything that I knew with a little more information of the names and things like that. And then they say at the end, but this might not have been true because
Ooh.
apparently they set her up because she was a female with power at the time, and a lot of governments or other kings owe her money. So guess what? Let's turn her in the boogeyman, right? And that way we can take everything she had. So that's another
Mm.
story that I wish you guys could talk about. Elizabeth Báthory.
Hmm.
Oh,
Mm.
thank
Oh,
you.
that's a
Good
good one. Yeah.
recommendation.
They call her also the Blood Countess. Oh,
Ooh.
so there you go.
Interesting. Yeah, actually, right now, as you were talking about that one, I remembered a story from. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's like these lights that just randomly appear in the Appalachian Mountains. Nobody has
Ooh.
any kind of explanation for it, and it's been happening since. I mean, there's been people have written about it all the way back as far as like the 1700s, maybe 1600s, when the settlers started moving west into the Appalachian Mountains. So that would be kind of interesting to hear, a little bit more about.
That's
Ooh,
a
Um,
it's
good one.
before LEDs.
Yeah.
Time travelers with glow sticks. No.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely another
Imagine
good
a
one.
rave, the Appalachian Mountain.
I have a friend who walked the Appalachian Trail, and
Cool.
yeah, he said that before he left, somebody was telling him, like a local was saying, when you walk at night and you hear somebody will call your name, just keep walking. He's like,
Oh,
just keep walking. Yeah, don't look in the trees. Don't You have no business looking in the trees. Just keep going.
Yes, I have heard this show. It
Yeah,
was
that's
called Park Predators, and it's a lot of stories that happen in the Appalachian Trail because it's so long and it's sparsely. I mean, it's people who travel through it. But there's a lot of stuff that happens in national parks that people might not know. So always keep an eye. Don't
oh
travel
yeah,
by yourself
absolutely.
if you can.
Yes.
But yeah, scary stuff.
That sounds so cool. I read that Bill Bryson book, A Walk in the Woods.
mm,
I do not think I can do the Pacific Crest Trail because
Oh
it's
yeah.
huge and it's hot, all that stuff. But the Appalachian Trail, maybe. But now probably not because I would be the first one to look as soon as someone calls my name. I'd be like, "What?" So yeah, it would all be over.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, Luis, I have a question for you. Maybe is w- Red and I were kind of talking about this, was like the magical or the paranormal
mm,
activity of Mexico, because it seems there's a lot of stuff that happens over there, and like culturally, my family, that it's all, well, when I was back in Mexico, or when your grandma was in Mexico, or even now when they go back, it's
mhm,
like the amount of things that people see there is insane. It's amazing. And I don't know, what
mm,
do you think? What do you think? Why? Is it because it's, the skies are darker, or, like maybe there's more countryside? I don't know. But there's always a story. People always come back with a story from there, or they already have stories.
yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. I'm and having experienced things myself too.
Yeah.
And even recently, just last year, I'm like, yeah, there's something special about being in rural areas, which I think if we were to really think about it, a lot of these things happen in darkness, and
Mm,
that is kind of limited within city areas because of the light pollution. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that we wouldn't be freaked out by like a long shadow that we might see and there's no source of it. But I think those kinds of things happen probably more often in rural areas, especially in Mexico, because of cultural beliefs, because of the lack of light and our inherent fear of light or darkness. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, so like, yeah, I kind of suspect that that's it. But then when it actually happens to you, you're like, there's something
mm.
different around here.
Yeah.
But also maybe less distractions because when you're, living in a area with like a more population, more, I guess, more urban, more like, okay, like run here, run there, run here, run there. You're distracted like all the time. Like however, I guess 24/7 or minus the time you sleep. And maybe when you take a minute and you don't have so many distractions
Mhm.
and you have the quiet and again, less light pollution.
Mhm.
Now everything becomes a little more apparent. You're maybe a little more connected to your surroundings.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering what both of you think about the idea of also the paranormal being our own like reflection on our relationship to the environment, not just, the area, right? But like nature and those things. Do you feel like there's a connection there between the paranormal and our I don't know, fear of Mother Nature?
There is something to that. I think again, like when you cut down on your distractions and when you're out of your little bubble, now the paranormal can actually get to you because you're not here surrounding yourself by screens and maybe the paranormal things behind you trying to get desperately trying to get your attention. But I know that there's also some, and I don't know a lot about this part, but I know that there are some who feel like that ghosts are able to connect with, they're still here, but they're here through another frequency, and sometimes are able to communicate with us through like white noise or through electronics. I
Mhm.
haven't really looked too much into that, but I don't know, maybe it's just like the distractions are a bigger factor than like nature itself.
Mhm.
Like maybe if I stop being so distracted, I will see things in the white noise or
Mhm.
in the you know, in the screens, so to speak.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice little poltergeist reference there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Jason?
Yeah, I agree with Fred. It's I think like, is maybe with more electronic, since everybody carries a phone now, there's we're not in contact with that part of ourselves that can see ghosts easier or more readily. And like a lot of the early 1910, 19 to like 1930 ghost stories are explicitly about that, about how the natural world is fading, due to like all this industry and advancements that we're losing touch with nature.
Mhm.
And the ghost story is actually saying these people who are trying to embrace the natural side are getting punished because they're trying to go the opposite way. So there's the morality there.
Mm.
But
Oh,
yeah,
just like Whistle and, was it Whistle?
yes, exactly,
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't put that
yeah,
together. Okay, got
yeah.
it.
And then the man who went too far, which is another great story,
Mhm.
where this guy tries to he's like he worships Pan, the god Pan, so the nature god basically. And one day he's just you find a sack of skin
Ooh.
where he
Mm.
used to be. Yeah, that's a good one. But that's like that's the overcorrection of since everything's moving so fast, we got to go back to nature, and then nature brings down brings down the law. But yeah, I think as we do get more distracted, it's harder to get back into that natural sense, that natural alarm that we all have that that raises, when something's off,
Mhm.
for sure.
Even maybe like the easier stuff, because I know sometimes there's people who they can kind of sense what the weather will be like, the next day without looking it up, or they can sense like what
Oh
time of
yeah.
day it is, like by just how the light is. Yeah, I can only speak for myself. I will look at my phone to see the weather instead of looking outside. Little, I am losing everything.
Yeah.
Not good.
Well, it's
Yeah.
Mm,
hard to tell when it's gonna rain 2 days from now. So I get you. The phone helps.
mm,
I mean,
mm,
Yeah. And those things, yeah, extended weather forecast, sure. But I remember as a kid, actually, and this is before I had a cell phone. I used to be able to kind of tell when it was going to be at least pretty dark and cold. I mean,
mm.
and it began with like an ache in my knee, which
Yeah.
I don't really feel that as often anymore. But then again, I mean, it almost never rains here in LA.
wow, that's backwards. Usually I hear older people saying that.
Yeah.
So when you were a kid, you were feeling this
Hmm.
achaques de adulto.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Um, but yeah, I think going back to the like I guess industrial revolution era literature, and how the Gothic literature a lot of times really was sort of a moral against going away from society and kind of um, embracing the progress of science and all of that. So it's interesting to hear that analysis coming, um, and it made me wonder, like, given the current time period, and all the advances that we're seeing in things like AI and um, what once used to be science fiction is now becoming science fact. If you
Mm.
were to write a story now, how would you approach it? Would you approach it with the kind of mentality of like the industrial revolution writers, or the early Gothics, in the mid 1800s? Like, what approach would you feel comfortable taking now if you were to tell a ghost story?
Mm.
A contemporary one, I should say.
Well, that's a good question.
That is a good question. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I don't think I would paint technology in a negative light or really try to vilify it per se.
Mhm.
And now I'm thinking of a story. I don't even want to say it out loud. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I should write that down. But probably definitely something, portraying technology neutrally, maybe portraying our time neutrally, but still emphasizing the human to human connection.
Mm.
So in that way, again, technology neutral, but playing up, we're people, we need to connect, or, these people your relationships are important. You're human to human, or not even human to human. You living organism to living organism, because maybe there's a dog in the story or a cat. I don't know, but definitely playing up like the importance and the irreplaceability of organism to organism connection.
Like that.
That's pretty good.
Jason,
Um,
your thoughts?
yeah, I agree with Red again. I think it's you can't completely poo-poo it because it's such a big factor. The technology. It's too late. The Industrial Revolution has happened. It's already here. Or now the artificial or the intelligence revolution is upon us.
Mhm.
But I agree. I think you have to mix it, and I do think just like what she said about the human connection. I think there's also elements of just being a person, of being alive, that technology can't replace, and whether art or the so-called soul or whatever you want to call it. But I think that the even the paranormal aspect of it, which there's something going on there that can't be quantified, and you can't describe reality with words, even though we try. So I think that part of it is it has to be part of the story. It has to be definitely be part of the story.
Ooh, maybe that's a future Ghost Spaghetti podcast episode for
I
you.
think so. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really
Yeah,
great
good
question.
one.
Speaking of the podcast, if a person wanted to, uh, I'm assuming it's audio. Is it audio or video and audio like us?
It is absolutely audio
Yeah.
only.
Where
Again,
could a
we don't
person?
want people to know I'm a giant chicken wearing a headset.
Yeah, but where might a person actually go
Oh,
and listen to your podcast?
well, we are on, I'll let Jason take this one because
Okay.
I know two of our platforms, but go for it.
We're on everything. We're on all the major platforms. We're on all the little ones too. So we're on Spotify and Apple or iTunes and
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio and
Yeah.
the Google. So
And if you don't want to go fishing through all that and you just want to log in, we do have links to our show on our website, ghostspaghetti.com. And on there, not a lot going on there, but there are definitely links to the episode. So at least there's that. And if you would like to email us, we're at ghostspaghettipodcast@gmail.com. And you can spook us on Instagram at ghostspaghettipodcast.
Nice.
Definitely
Yes.
following you guys already. I'm up to date.
Oh, okay.
Unless you
Well,
sent one yesterday or today.
I was about to ask if you're up to date, so thank you
Yeah,
for volunteering
I
that
am. I
information.
am. I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Oh, aw.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
And also, I want to have another question for you. Tell us what's a good story that we can watch on TV. What's a good movie? It's Jason Red. Tell us what's your favorite scary movie or spooky movie or sci-fi movie. Also, you,
Ooh.
Luis. I miss. Give us something.
You know, I personally feel like you can't beat Ghostbusters. That's the movie I kind of keep going back to, kind of like a League of Their Own, where like every time it's on, that's what I'm gonna do. This is what my time is about now. So definitely Ghostbusters. I appreciate how they kind of like in that world, ghosts are no question.
Mhm.
They exist, period. And they're doing what they can to take control, as the song says. And I like a lot how a lot of it is filmed in Los Angeles because, again, big LA history person. It has comedians, it has like the cool jumpsuits. Um, I'm a Ghostbusters person. What can I say? And I know you did not ask, but I'm gonna volunteer anyway. As far as books are concerned, I did mention one book recently on our show, and I feel like it really doesn't get enough love around the Halloween season. Like you see the same books kind of get mentioned over and over on these lists, like, best ghost book, best this and that. Because I read them every year. But one that I wish I saw more of is one called Ghost Radio by Leopoldo Gout, Gout. And that one is awesome because it's kind of like what we've been talking about now, like ghosts exist, or well, I don't want to throw out ghosts exist because we didn't really touch on that too much, but it's about ghosts and modern day and how they might reach us through some means. You know, they can still reach you even if you're not sitting alone in the woods. Ghost Radio by Leopoldo Gout and Ghostbusters,
Nice.
both
We're talking about
both my
Ghostbusters.
spaghetti Rex, of
Nice, nice.
course.
Are we talking about Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2, Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them now. Yeah.
So far I'm sticking with 1, 2, and Lady Ghostbusters. I forget the formal name, but I was a fan of that one. I liked all the nods, and I liked how even though they had their nods, they made it their own thing. And I actually, don't want to admit it, but I actually haven't seen the most recent one. I think I'm just,
Shame.
sometimes you want to preserve the memory of, because I know the new one. That's part of why I was drawn to the one with Kristen Wiig and such, because it was like a new one, so like it was its own thing. So I don't know if I want to go back to the original cast because I want to preserve that one. I don't know. I'm sure I'll cave and I'll go see it. Yeah. Okay.
And Jason, what are your Rex?
For shows, on Netflix, there's like the Guillermo del Toro. He did it. This a few years now, I think, or 2 years ago.
Yes.
Do you see that one? That was really good. It was
The
some of
Cabins
them
of
were
Curiosity, right?
that one. Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, even my dad liked those ones.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Some of them were okay. Some of them are really, really good, and at least they're all like visually really, really good. Yeah, and they do cover some classic horror stories. There, they got like some H.P. Lovecraft stories that they covered and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely check that one out on Netflix. Or I think it's like 6 episodes or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
wish there were more.
yeah, there should be more, or at least like
Yeah.
seasons, right, or something. Yeah,
Yes, I wish.
yeah,
I wish. He's
that
so
one's
good.
so good. Yeah, so good. So that one's that. For stories, M.R. James they consider him the master of the classic ghost story. But I like Algernon Blackwood, who's also old. He's from like the early 1900s, and he was a hiker and like a wild man. So like a lot of his stories are about like him being in the wilderness and
Yeah,
seeing
before they were called hikers, right? They were
yes,
wild
a
man.
wild man,
Yeah.
yeah, man of the wild, yeah. So he would go out there and like make new paths and new trails, and he would see, and his writing is beautiful. It's beautiful writing, and it's weird to have that in a ghost story. So there's a lot of things that are like his thing is more like kind of disturbing, but more to like put awe, give you like a sense of awe, which is pretty unique for a horror story. So Algernon Blackwood, anything by him is good. So yeah,
Ooh, nice. I'm gonna put
That's
in
a
my
bold
list.
claim.
it is, yeah.
And you, Luis, what's
Yeah.
cooking?
Well, I agree definitely with Ghostbusters and the Cabinet of Curiosities. Those are some good recommendations. Um, I think I'm actually tend to be more of a fan of the science fiction horror, like the what do they call it? Galactic horror, if I remember right.
Oh,
So stuff that's more along the lines of like Alien. I love the movie Alien, the original and the sequel Aliens. Um, and then 28 Days Later, love that as
oh yeah.
a really good take on the zombie movie. And even Day of the Dead, the old George Romero one, the original, and then the remakes. Those were all really good. So I definitely like the zombie movies. But you did bring up Interview of the Vampire with the
Mm.
Vampire, and that's a great movie too. It's a good adaptation of the novel, I think.
Yeah.
Same with Bram Stoker's Dracula. That was a good adaptation.
Oh, that was very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Abraham, what are you gonna recommend?
Oof. Well, you guys took some of mine. Jason said The Cabinet of Curiosities. Again, one of my favorites. Another one that I always recommend, and I made the mistake of the book club that me and Red were in to suggest this one. It's Let the Right One In.
Ah.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
But the book is way worse than the movie, meaning worse in a scary way because it's more real. Like it has the
Mm.
human aspect that's more scary than the actual monster of
Oh,
the
interesting.
show.
Interesting.
So, and I like both versions because that's one in like some European country, and then they did the Hollywood movie with. But I like they kept the same vibe, like even though it was snow and foggy and all that,
Mm.
they keep it. And I like it because it tells you the story of a vampire in a different way. And I like when you can have something that we already think we know and turn it around and make it into something new. And this one was pretty good. Let the Right One In.
That reminds me
Awesome.
of what you just said right now reminds me of the movie Renfield. I don't know if any of you saw it.
Oh yeah, I like Renfield.
Yeah, it was with Nicolas Cage, and I can't remember the other actor's name. But you know, Nicolas Cage plays Dracula, and he's like this really whiny, very, very manipulative Dracula. And I thought that was a really good telling of
Was it a comedy? 'Cause I
yeah.
think I saw that like a trailer, but I never got into seeing
Yeah,
it.
I would call it more of a comedy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It was a good like retelling, I guess, or
Mm.
a good take on a vampire. So it was cool.
he's a good Dracula.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage was pretty funny
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, when it comes to Nicolas Cage, because he just signs for everything to pay for his weird curiosities. So I never know if I should go watch them. Like, I think his name is not as bright as I used to think
Yeah,
when I
it's hit
was
or
young.
miss, hit or miss.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mm.
so I didn't go for that one.
Yeah, but that one I would recommend. It was a good one.
Oh, all right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you know, lighthearted horror.
That's
Um,
the other one that's like a comedy of vampires, but I never got to see it because it's not on Netflix. I don't know if you guys heard from it. It's like
What we
this
do in
funny
the
take on
shadow.
Yes, I've been
I like
trying to
that
watch it.
one.
I need to get that.
Yeah, that's a I yeah, I think you can probably watch the whole series soon. I think it's gonna be ending.
Oh, is it
So
really?
Ooh.
I think I saw a post from one of the actors about it, but that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So I'm not shy about comedy, even if it's like supposed to be scary, but they made it to comedy. I like that too.
Mhm.
If it is well done, right?
yeah,
Right.
obviously it has to all be
Yeah.
done. Yeah. So we got, you know, the website, right? Ghostspaghetti.com, and that's where
Mhm.
people can find links to all of the different streaming platforms for your podcast. But in addition to that, do you guys organize meetups or anything else? Any like upcoming things that you guys have going on that our audience might be interested in checking out?
I'm gonna go ahead and answer for Jason and say no. Right now we're just having fun telling each other ghost stories in the quiet of podcast land. But you know, not a bad idea if we ever want to actually sit down and commit to a Dodgers walking tour or, you know, downtown walking tour and have a captive audience. That would definitely be a stretch goal to use corporate speak for our very non-corporate ghost story podcast.
Yeah.
I say spooky speakeasy. I'll be great.
Ooh.
Oh, there you go.
That's a
I'll
good
go
one.
there.
Yeah, I'd do that too.
Okay.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. And do you all have any parting words for the audience? Anything that you'd like to share, or maybe a little story you'd like to spook us with before we sign off?
Hmm. That is a great question.
Yeah, it's a good. It's a
Very
good.
great question. No, all we can say, well, actually, no, I won't say no and all we can, I will say all I can say, so I'm not here just talking for everybody, is, if you enjoy ghost stories or spaghetti, actually, we didn't even touch on the spaghetti aspect of what we do, and that's
Yeah.
actually half the battle. It's right there in the name. We do actually discuss spaghetti. That's not just us being silly, like we do discuss it, and we do throw out spaghetti recommendations. I think we've recommended a sauce, a couple restaurants, and you think you've had spaghetti, and we've had our fair share of spaghetti, but there are some variances. So, if you have any interest in ghosts, spaghetti, pasta, sauce, meatballs, anything that falls under the umbrella of ghost spaghetti, definitely reach out or follow us or both. We're always collecting ghost stories or spaghetti recipes or spaghetti recommendations. Where can we get a good plate around here? Definitely.
Nice. And
Getting
Jason,
hungry now.
What she said, yeah.
With extra sauce.
With
What
extra
she said with
sauce,
extra
yeah.
sauce.
Exactly.
and a side
Exactly.
of garlic bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So
Sweet. All right. Well, thank you once again, Red and Jason. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us on the Art Block podcast. And of course, our audience, definitely go check out ghostspaghetti.com to find your preferred podcast platform and follow. It was Instagram, correct? At Ghost Spaghetti Podcast.
absolutely at Ghost Spaghetti Podcast. That's where we are.
All right. Cool.
Thank you so
So,
much for having us. This was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed being able to communicate like how much the DSTL Arts program impacted me. Because again, I love stories. I love yakety yakking about stories as a kid. Kind of lose that sometimes when you kind of like as you get older, you lose that and you lose opportunities to do that. So having a space to kind of reignite that and to like really take time out of life and like sit and think about stories, sit and think about writing, and then do your own stories and writing. And then, yeah, that's definitely like a stepping stone to not just like my little podcast, but it's also was a stepping stone to me kind of expanding more as a person. And now you can't stop me.
So
Can't
you're
can't zipper
saying,
it up.
so what you're saying is we created a monster. She's alive.
Oh, a spaghetti monster.
Spaghetti
Yes.
monster.
So yeah,
Well,
definitely great. Helped me in my own, personal career, like more attuned with like public speaking, with writing for an audience. So very big thank yous to the DSTL Arts program.
well,
thanks for
yeah,
joining
thank
us,
you, Red.
guys. It's been great having you guys. And again, my final thought for everybody out there: if you hear something under your bed, don't forget you're using a bunk bed and your brother is underneath. Just letting you guys know.
Awesome.
And you probably still don't want to look. So
Exactly. That's my advice. Don't look. Don't
Never,
look.
no matter what, don't
Yeah.
look.
exactly. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you again, Jason, Red, ghostspaghetti.com. Abraham, of course, also don't forget to follow him. He sure does love that Abraham_photo world on Instagram. And of course, don't forget to follow at DSTL Arts at DSTL Arts on all the social medias. So thanks everybody. Hope you all enjoy your rest of your month, I guess, because we'll see y'all again next month. And Jason and Red, we'll see you hopefully in about 2 weeks, if I remember correctly, for our crossover. So everybody stay tuned
Yes.
for that. All right. Take care, y'all. Peace.
Okay, bye.